Welcome to the Opera House. I'm Kathleen Ramos. I am the president of Downtown Vacaville Business Improvement District, and I'm very excited to have all of you here. Thanks so much for coming. And now I'd like to introduce Mayor Len Augustine.
I don't normally like to get behind a microphone and so forth, but the reason I'm doing this is so you can hear, because I know I have a hard time sometimes with echoes and things. Well, I'm committed to downtown. I think you all know that, and appreciate everybody showing up. You got a nice crowd here, and it's very good to see. John, thank you for being here. And of course, we're very happy to have Don Burris with us. Don is our new economic development. One of the things that Laura Kuhn and I did was talk about a reorganization of the city hall a little bit, and we kind of moved positions around a little bit so we could get an economic developer. So we're committed to trying to improve the business climate in Vacaville throughout the city, not just downtown, but primarily downtown. And I'll tell you how committed I am. I've got another meeting at 6 o'clock. I've invited all the mayors from the county to come, and we're going to have dinner at the China House. So we're eating downtown. We're not eating on the other side of town. And we hope to talk about a lot of issues that, even though we have political differences, we all face the same problems. And we're talking about water today, and the drought, and also some of the groundwater issues that are taking place. Again, thanks for coming out. I think that's important that you participate in what's happening here. I want to thank Kathleen for taking on a strategic plan for the downtown area, and particularly I want to thank Steve Wilkins. We talked him into coming and helping. Steve's a very bright guy, and Don and all the rest of you who participated in that. And that's a key part of this thing. You know, I don't want to look back into the past. I want to look to the future as what we're going to do, and that's the important thing. East Main Street's been sitting there just with problems over the years, with nothing but weeds and chain link fences. It's time we did something to it. So some of the ideas that we threw out there, we're still going to be taking a look at it. We've actually hired now, as you probably know, a developer. And the next step is to bring the design in and see what he's going to propose in a way of design for it. The town square was, I think, a good model to start with. It looks great, and it's been a big addition to the city of Vacaville. You know, I'm going to be egotistical here and tell you that that was one of my big pushes when I first became mayor back in this, like 20 years ago. It seems like 20 years ago anyhow. So the downtown is really top of my list on priorities, that we want to do something here to make sure that we continue to move forward and make it grow in a way that will be beneficial to the businesses down here. And particularly, we'd like to do, you know, some more retail. I know there are going to be people who don't like that. I don't want negativity today. I got to tell you, this is going to be a positive push towards what we're going to do in the future. And your participation and your ideas will be taken into consideration, and hopefully out of all of it will come the developer's ideas about what he's going to do. So, you know, I look at what we have in the way of a downtown, and as I've traveled throughout the county and the state, and even beyond that, I don't see downtowns that can compare to what we have. We have a sense of being able to walk. We've got one of the safest cities in the county, 15% reduction in crime last year, no homicides in this city, and I knock on wood. So there's obviously something good about having a safe city and people coming down here. Some of the things that will be, I think, discussed need to involve the entire community of downtown. Operating hours and what the businesses are here and what we want to see here. All those things are things that you will bring to the table and participate in. That's what we want to find out. What do you want? What does the downtown want? We just built a fire station, Station 75, over off of Vanden Road. And what we did was had the firefighters come in, some of the young firefighters, and said, what do you want in the way of a station? And today, that's what I heard from them was, thank you for listening to us. They now have single rooms over there. They don't have to all sleep in one room with somebody snoring and somebody not. And you know, all that kind of stuff is very important to have you, the people who operate out of downtown, who come downtown. We need your ideas, and we need to have you buy into this program so that it becomes successful. That's a very important thing. And I look at what we have in the way of events here. You know, Merriman on Main. I don't see any other city in anywhere in Northern California that can compare to that. There's no way that you can have an event like that. You know, we put flags on the poles. The city's committed. We're going to spend a little over $1.5 million on some of the infrastructure here coming up. We just approved that last night. And so there's a lot of money being spent in the downtown that we want to make sure that we can bring the businesses in that we're looking forward to. So hopefully we'll bring some residents in. You know, I think having a library down here was a great thing. When they decided they wanted to come down here, we had talked to them about being here. I think I just see Delina Harris coming in. Thanks, Delina, for being here. One of our city council members. Give her a round of applause. Yeah. So I'm sorry I can't stay. I want to be more involved, but I also wanted to have Kathleen and her group put together an independent strategic plan without any participation from me, so that it becomes your plan, it becomes your ideas, it becomes the roadmap for the future for the city of Vacaville. But I just want to let you know as a final statement that we're committed to supporting the downtown. We've done it for over 25 years, the city has, and we're going to continue to do that. So thanks again for being here, and I hope you have a great time and participate, please. That's the most important part. Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Well, Lynn beat me to the punch because I saw Delina come in and wanted to acknowledge and thank our councilwoman, Delina Harris, for always supporting the DVBID. So, welcome. I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing with the DVBID. If you are not a business person down here and are here because you're interested, how many of you knew we had a business improvement district? Hey, that's pretty darn good. So, how many have come to some of the events that we have over 100 days a year? So, I think that's pretty universal because we're known for many of the events. What we're doing now, though, is building on that. The organization's been very active since 1999, and it has come a very long way. If you have lived here since before 1999, you will recognize that the downtown has changed a great deal. And when I say changed, I'm actually saying improved. We have so many great features to the downtown. It's a welcoming community area, and I think that's one of the most important things that we have. But part of that is because the Downtown Business Improvement District structures it to help support each other. Now we're building on that to help develop education. We're helping to develop other services and other assets for this organization. And that's part of why we're doing a strategic plan. So as part of this, we're doing work groups, and we are actually creating goals and work plans for the entire organization. But what's very nice about this is with the help of our city and with our city council and with our mayor, we are actually developing work plans for not just the members of our downtown businesses, not just the members of our DVBID board, and believe me, that's hard to say 2 or 3 times, but we're developing work plans for the mayor, for the city council, and for the people who work for the city of Vacaville. We've developed great and strong partnerships over the last few years. We have always had great partnerships. We have strengthened those. We have partnerships with the city of Vacaville. We have partnerships with Visit Vacaville. We have partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. And we're very proud to feel that we have created just a very synergistic relationship together. So it's very important to us to do so. The participants in the planning process include many of the stakeholders from downtown Vacaville. It also includes the board and directors, committees and staff, downtown businesses, property owners. It's very hard sometimes for us to keep up with property owners because Many of them rent out their buildings, and we really don't see them. And we would love participation with many of our property owners in this area. We have Chamber of Commerce, Visit Vacaville. We have other organizations who've been very, very helpful to us. But most of all, now we need the input of the community, the general community. We want to see this go forward in a way, and gathering the input from you folks is one of the most essential parts of this project. So we really thank you for taking time out tonight to come, to help, to assist us to build an even better downtown area, because when we build a better downtown, we build a better Vacaville. So thank you so much for that. And I want to say a very special thank you to Sandra, owner of the Opera House, because she is so generous with not only her time, but in loaning us this gorgeous facility. Believe me, you would not fit in our little tiny office as much as we would love to say you would, but this is a much nicer facility, so we're very grateful. So. At this time, I'd like to tell you a little bit about our speaker and our facilitator, Laura Cole Rowe. She's the executive director of the California Main Street Alliance, the organization that administers the California Main Street program. She started her program in downtown development 28 years ago, first serving as the executive director of the Fairfield Main Street program, and then as executive director of the Davis Downtown Business Association. I was then a Main Street community, and she was there from 1997 to 2007. Laura served as the president of California Downtown Association from 2001 to 2003, and she was also the president of the California Main Street Alliance in 2004. She's worked with more than 75 downtown organizations in California, Nevada, Arizona, and New Mexico. And she received the designation of a certified Main Street manager through the National Main Street Center in Washington, D.C. in 2004. And I personally feel it's just a great honor and a privilege to work with her on this. She has tremendous knowledge about this, and we're looking to turn that knowledge into action and into the future of downtown Vacaville. And I, for one, am extraordinarily excited to introduce Laura.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you. I am going to ask one of our wonderful members of our audience, Supervisor John Vasquez, to give us a little bit about the history of downtown Vacaville. John?
Thank you. You know, I was asked to be a little nostalgic about downtown Vacaville, having grown up here. But as I look, I see Stephen, former classmate. Stephen, you're just 1 or 2 years older than me, and Shireen and Betty Jean, as we grew up running up and down these streets of downtown Vacaville, in particular Main Street, which was our home, after school and before school and on the weekends. So, but before I get to that, I just want to talk about downtown itself. The term was first thought to have been coined in New York City in the 1830s, reference the original part of the city. And over the 19th century, the term was gradually adopted by many cities in the U.S., and again referring to the heart of the city. And by the early 1900s, it became a proper term used for the Central Business District, or your CBDs. But by 1950, post-World War II, Americans began to leave the downtown, the core. And in Vacaville, a new interstate freeway allowed for the suburbs and the retail to develop along its edge. And by the 1960s, Vacaville saw an opportunity for its own downtown through redevelopment, a process in which was called urban renewal or urban renovation. The process created not only community but political unrest. It caused the election of a group called the Clean Sweep, ousting 3 incumbents, but the unrest didn't end there with the election. Shortly after, there was a recall about how the downtown might look and how redevelopment might impact the downtown. And so for the next 20 years, because it didn't pass back then, for the next 20 years, downtown existed pretty much on its own. And by the 1980s, the City Council began to look at redevelopment again as a means of revitalizing the downtown. But much of the distrust that had occurred in the 60s came back to haunt the proposal. But the council, by a vote of 3-2, and the two votes were not dissenting, they abstained because they owned property downtown. The downtown redevelopment zone was created. And so by the early 90s, the agency had enough funding to begin the improvements that we now see today. I want to thank all of you for participating, because it has been an incremental process in which people who have been business people, who have property owners, who have had interest in downtown, have continued to work on what downtown is today. I'll coin a phrase that a farmer told me one time. He said, "A half-assed job is a better job done than a perfect job never done." So it's okay to make mistakes, but it's more important to continue to work on those and improve those very mistakes you made. And that's, I think, where we're at today. We have an opportunity to look at what's occurred in the past and to move forward. And with the new process that we're going through, it is an excellent opportunity to do that. But I will touch on my downtown Vacaville. As a youth, it was one that had my doctor, my dentist, my barber, my post office, my banker, the reporter, grocery stores, auto dealers, hotels, furniture stores, Chandler's, the soda works, fire station, police station, drug stores, clothing stores, blacksmith shop, had the fiesta and the homecoming parade down Main Street, and it had our favorite hangout, the Creamery. If we could bring that back, huh? Yeah. So for 45 years, downtown was my home. I lived 2 blocks away from this building. And much has occurred over that time. So I ask that you continue down that path of making downtown Vacaville what it has always been, and that's the heart of our community. Best of luck tonight, and thank you.
Thank you, John. You stole my speech.
I did. Sorry.
Parts of it.
I saw laying back there.
Well, welcome, and thanks so much for coming tonight. This is very important, shaping the future of downtown. Dawn, go ahead. So I pulled some photos to sort of take a look at downtown Vacaville through the years. This is the oldest one I could find, and it's downtown Vacaville in the late 20s or 30s, and the only reason I can sort of ascertain that is because of the cars. Next. And this is what downtown Vacaville looked like in the 1950s. Next. And today. But what will downtown Vacaville look like in the future? So historically, as John said, all downtowns provided everyday goods and services. In the early 1950s, most of the commercial activities were located in downtown, and that's downtown anywhere. These included your clothing stores, shoe stores, jewelry stores, hardware, Woolworths and JCPenney's, optometrists, normally a movie theater, drugstores, and the like. Often professional offices or apartments were located on the second or third floors of these buildings. There were some strip shopping centers a few miles away, but for the most part, downtowns were thriving. But several things happened by the late 1950s, early 60s that changed all that. The decline. The interstate highway system was completed. You can see Miss Concrete and Miss Blacktop celebrating the grand opening of Interstate 94 in Wisconsin. People didn't need to travel the secondary roads that went through every downtown in the area. And if you know a lot about downtown history, you know, people have those arches, right? You've recreated an arch. Fairfield still has theirs. Well, the reason those were there is because driving Highway 40 or whatever highway you were in a different state, You're going through miles and miles, and after a while in the car, where am I now? And then you'd see this arch sign. So that's why a lot of them, some of them don't exist anymore. I know Davis's doesn't. Some of them still do. Fairfield's is restored, but it's really not the real one. It's recreated. Anyway, that's why those were there. So you drove 40 or whatever highway it was to get somewhere else, and the routes that these highways created, this new interstate, they were more open land. You got there faster. So the open land was where the newest thing could go. And it kind of landed like a spaceship, and that was the enclosed mall. So we're better for shopping than an air-conditioned, fully weather-protected space that pumped in canned music, had canned fountains, where one could find national chain stores, and better yet, tons of free parking. That's your enclosed mall. Local demographics also changed. In many small towns, there began an outflow of newly educated baby boomers who were looking for brighter lights, better jobs, and they left that aged population behind. Also in the 60s and 70s, suburbia exploded, even in small towns. Why live in an older house when one could buy a nice new house on a bigger lot in a bright new subdivision beyond the edge of town? And once living there, wouldn't it just be easier to drive out to the strip shopping mall or the shopping center rather than to go into downtown and hassle with parking in order to go to the drugstore or buy a new shirt? So a lot of retail moved to shopping centers and malls, and unfortunately, many mom and pop stores didn't make it. By the late 1980s, and continuing today, downtowns were reinventing themselves as specialty retail, activity centers, unique places to eat, and a place to have an experience. That's a good experience. Things that we couldn't get in the mall. I always tell people, I can go to a mall in Baltimore or Albany or Plano, Texas, and it's all kind of the same. It's the same stores, the same sort of whitewashed stuff. But when I go to downtown, there's all kinds of new and great things to see. It's all different. That experience, many things helped make that happen. Business improvement districts for one, redevelopment, and downtown management became a career. Now, I don't think there's any baby boomer who would have said, when I grow up, I want to be a downtown manager. That was not in my vocabulary when I was a child. Now, since downtown has had this resurgence, what is called a lifestyle center, they're now mimicking successful downtowns. So here we have Santana Row in San Jose. Now, doesn't that look like a downtown of old, only a little bit more glitzy? And of course, we've got Nut Tree Plaza, which is along the same line that way. There's streets, sidewalks, buildings, parking on the outside. Downtowns will continue to evolve in the future. We don't know what the next big thing is, but they will evolve. So let's talk about some great downtowns first. Here's downtown Livermore. How many of you have been to downtown Livermore? When Downtown Livermore, Inc., and that is the Main Street Revitalization Program is called, they were formed in 1986, and at that time, that historic business district was really sagging. Suburban sprawl, they had a 4-lane highway that went through the downtown, speeding cars, nobody was stopping. Well, the city of Livermore recognized that the roadway was a detriment to foot traffic, and there was a bypass. But it was also an obstacle to revitalization. So in transforming the roads there, they spent $12.5 million, and they also did public space improvement projects that transformed this former highway into a moderate 2-lane road with lots of landscaping. They added a public plaza. Does this sort of sound familiar? Because you're going to hear a lot of things that you've done here in Vacaville that have been done in other places. And the thing of it is, it works. They've have things for outdoor dining, flexible space. It's very inviting. It invites the community to park the car, enjoy the sights that they see in downtown, shop, and stay for a while. There are special events. They have merchant promotions, volunteers that participate, and they create that buzz downtown. And they've got a great selection of restaurants and retail shops that keep residents and visitors interested on a year-round basis. But let me tell you a little bit of some facts about Livermore. They're a Main Street community, and they did win what is called the Great American Main Street Award. And that is a competition that happens every year with main streets across the United States. So from 1986 to 2009, downtown Livermore saw a net increase of 194 new businesses. So net increase. Some moved out, but they had an increase of 194. A net increase of almost 1,000 new jobs. 82 building rehabilitations, 12 new buildings, a drop in their vacancy rate from 26% to 9%. And realize this is in 2009. We're in a recession at that point. So 9% vacancy rate is pretty good for those days. The public investment in downtown Livermore was $55 million. And private investment was $112 million. Now, those are some really good figures. This is San Luis Obispo. You're familiar with that, right? Been down there, kids go to school. Okay. During the 1950s, San Luis Obispo saw its share of suburban mall. Their first mall was built just a few miles from their downtown. And in 1970s, another mall was built. But these two shopping centers weren't ever really competition for the downtown. But even though it wasn't competition, they did have its share of problems. They had some rundown buildings. They had a lot of people who cruised back and forth. They had lack of parking. They had no downtown design guidelines, so they did those. And those guidelines spelled out improvements for streetscape, facade restoration, sidewalk paving, public art, sign systems, architectural regulations, and lighting. It's Thursday's Farmers Market. Brings in 15,000 people a week. That's a lot. So if you think parking's bad here, go down there and see what else. But there were improvements done by private investors. They've enhanced downtown's appearance. There is a shopping center called the Downtown Center in the middle of their downtown, but it's well designed. It's got a complex of shops, restaurants, movie theaters, and it does occupy an entire block in the downtown. It has both chains and independently owned shops. And it's become this gathering place for families and friends, and it's raised that standard for everybody else, those businesses in the area. So now they keep later hours, they clean their sidewalks, and they offer better window and storefront displays. And do one more here. This is Walnut Creek. Okay. Here's an example that independently owned stores and major chains like Tiffany, Pottery Barn, an Apple store can exist together in a downtown setting. Their downtown association is made up of every business and property owner within the borders of their downtown, and they have what is called a property-based improvement district. They have 650 members. Everybody pays a fee based on the square footage of the space where it's located. So what's your favorite downtown? Anybody? Walnut Creek? Napa has come a long way. You're absolutely right, and they keep improving. Where else? Pleasanton. That's another one of my Main Street communities. Grass Valley is another Main Street community. Nevada City is not a Main Street community, but it's got a beautiful downtown. Where else? Winters is really cool. They're very quaint and small. And don't even think about California. I do a lot of traveling, and I get to go in all kinds of strange places. I mean, Minden, Nevada, Gardnerville, Nevada, tiny towns outside of Reno. There's a lot of cool downtowns there. But they didn't get there magically. They worked at it. So, I'm going to talk about 10 things that great downtowns have in common. Okay, there isn't a magic formula. There's no one organizational model that exists that fits everybody. It's not one size fits all. Cities have found, and downtown associations as well, found varying ways to provide those needed services. So each model reflects the strengths present in their community. Sometimes Main Street works for people, sometimes it doesn't. PBIDs work for some do a combination, a hybrid. It's what works for the community. All the downtowns are loved by their citizens. They have significance in the region, that downtown. Whether it's a special memory, you're still there. There's strong affection, and all great downtowns have that. I'm not going to say there isn't controversy or debate. There is, but they always have strong affection for their downtown. Great downtowns are able to overcome challenges and obstacles. Just because you have a great downtown doesn't mean it's an exempt for challenge. And we've seen this I've seen it in places that I've worked. It's cyclical. It'll be on its way up, and it'll ride a plateau, and I'm talking about downtown Davis, where I was for 10 years, and then it hits some snags, and it'll go back up again, and it is. Cities and downtown associations have found ways to meet those challenges, and even today, these type of innovative cities and downtown associations are preparing for their next challenge, their next set of it. Every downtown faces challenges. The great ones respond to them. Downtowns that are great are walkable, and they have pedestrian scale. This can include pedestrian malls, linear main streets, public squares, multi-zone downtowns. People want to walk. Yeah, I know. You hear people go, well, I couldn't get a parking space downtown. What, in front of the one place you wanted to go? There's plenty of parking out there. People will go to the mall and park a football length away, walk up and down the mall and walk back, and you don't hear them complaining. So actually, when there's great things to see and you're a walkable downtown, people expect to walk. You have to have the numerous street-level attractions that hold the attention of the pedestrian. That could be architecture, storefronts, great windows, street amenities, art, signs. That's what being walkable is. Great downtowns have a commitment to mixed-use development. The uses are generally not geographically separated. I mean, it's not like there's something over here and something there. When they are, they remain walking distance of each other, and a lot of new projects have this mixed-use orientation. When I was in Davis, 3 mixed-use projects came online all at once. I was petrified. I'm thinking, and each of them had between 20 and 40,000 square feet of space on the bottom floor, and they had offices on the second floor and residential on top. And I had them posted in my office, and I said, how are we ever going to fill this? And you know what? Within 6 months of each of them opening, they were filled. You know, it's a little bit different time now. That was before the recession. Things were booming, but people wanted to live downtown, and they wanted to work downtown. And when you have a great downtown, that's what will happen. Next. There's broad public and private investment in great downtowns. Thank you. These downtowns in the city are already, they're planning for their future, they're implementing new projects that broaden the appeal and the scope of downtown. Many of these projects have public sector involvement, and cities tend to be proactive in facilitating these projects. Great downtowns have entertainment. It's a driving market segment. Anchor projects help, whether it's movie theaters, performance halls, sports complexes. And if you look at major cities that have built sports complexes in their downtown, it has revitalized. I'm waiting to see what happens in Sacramento soon. It's already spurred development, but let's see what happens once the Kings start playing. All have been able to extend the life of their downtowns beyond 5 p.m., right? We have a 9 to 5 economy, and then we have a 5 o'clock to, let's just say, midnight economy. And that's what you want. You want feet on the street at all hours that you're not sleeping. And all have strong and growing restaurant sectors. People like to go out and eat. Next. Great downtowns. Retailing is in flux. I'm not going to tell you retailing is booming. It's in flux. A lot of storefronts are being replaced by food and beverage. It's replacing traditional retail. Why is that? A lot of online shopping. I mean, and that's hit everybody. But somebody said to me, why don't we open a men's store somewhere? That's what we need, is a men's store. And I said, when's the last time you saw a men's store open? Anybody? Pardon me? You've seen them close, but when's the last time you saw one open? I mean, we shop differently than we did in the 60s and the 70s. Local independent retailers continue to dominate most downtowns, so all is not lost for retail. Downtowns are facing increasing competition. Some have been exempt from serious competition for a number of years. It depends what you have. It depends on your customer service. There's so many elements in that. I could do a whole section on this. Great downtowns have residential neighborhoods within walking distance. Some neighborhoods are upscale, some are not. This doesn't mean student housing either, but it could be. San Luis Obispo had that, Davis had that, but Davis also had some upscale housing in downtown as well. And these neighborhoods provide a key base of people who will come to downtown and shop and spend money. And the last point of a great downtown is new downtown housing is either there and prevalent, or it's on its way. The market for housing in downtown is strong and growing. Affordability is a big issue, and it's faced by many communities. But on the other hand, downtown residents are invaluable to the downtown retail economy. Who lives downtown? Does anybody? Yay! Close. About 13, 14 years ago, I figured I had I made this my career, that I really had to walk the walk and talk the talk. So I do live in downtown Sassoon. I live along the waterfront. There's not much retail there, but there are restaurants, and it is walkable. And hopefully someday, the west side of the street will be developed. But enough from me. I want to hear from you. So what we're going to do now, and I need my stuff moved. so I can write and still be on a microphone. A microphone. So I'm not sure. Can I pull this out? Yep. Okay. Is Phil Donahue going to help me here?
Well, Donahue is.
We call Don Phil Donahue because we want to hear you. We want to get this, this is being recorded. So we're going to have your say. So I need you to flip to one more. Don, thank you. And we're going to do probably about 7 to 10 minutes on each question. There's no right or wrong answers. I just want to know. This helps me in doing the strategic plan. So, question 1 is, audience, what makes downtown Vacaville unique and how do we preserve and embrace it? Don't be afraid. Yes.
When I go downtown and go to a restaurant, I always run into a few people that I know. It's a small town still, and that needs to be preserved. Thank you.
Still small town to be preserved. What makes it unique?
I have one more. I think that downtown has different activities. Downtown Vacaville has different activities that draw different groups of people down at different times. So it's a rotating group of people who are coming down and experiencing things downtown.
Okay. And I noticed that I came to your first food truck event, and that was a different crowd than I've ever seen.
And a very large one.
And a very large one. And we must have walked 6 blocks before we could find a restaurant we could get into, because we weren't going to wait in line on those food trucks. What else? What makes your downtown unique?
One thing that makes downtown Rockland unique is that you can go within a mile and a half, and I can't think of a thing that we need to do that we cannot do within a mile and a half. It's the way also Rockville is laid out. You want a movie theater, a restaurant, you go across the street to the bank, you go across the street to a fine restaurant. The best breakfast in town is right up the corner for me. And, there's so many different services downtown. You have, I think 23% of downtown members are professionals, if I remember the stat correct. That could be accounting or doctors, real estate. You've got insurance, banking, restaurants, retail. So what you're looking for downtown is the unique, where the mall is the cookie cutter. So you take, for example, Fleet Feet. If you want great customer service, if you want unique service, you're not going to find that in the mall with people who are trained to deal with that. Anyway.
Great answer.
I think you also have to always keep it family usable, where you can bring your children, educate them on the areas that they're growing up in and why it is unique.
Good.
I was also going to say that that part of Vacaville has retained its original character, and while the rest of Vacaville has grown up and is modern in many ways, there's a whole segment downtown that brings back the nostalgia of, childhood or whatever it is. So It is unique because it's different than the rest of Vacaville, and it's the only area that is like that, with those old buildings and with that character.
So it's genuine.
So it's genuine.
Good.
And I appreciate what Donna said, because I was sitting there thinking the word unique was a little confusing to me. Unique in comparison to the rest of Vacaville, or what makes downtown important or significant to our community. And I don't know if we're going to get to that in the question, but to me, being able to, a lot of you talk about what's important about having a downtown like it is here currently. And I think reaching beyond and thinking about what's important about a downtown Vacaville is significant in this greater community will help draw our attention toward how we develop that influence.
I'm going to play just a bit of devil's advocate because I think, in my opinion, we were unique at one point, and I think we're losing it because our pie chart is just where there's not enough certain businesses and too much of others. And I think we need to break it up a bit to where we have, obviously I'm a retail person, so I believe we need to have considerable amount more retail to keep people there. We have the charm, we have a lot of the pieces in place, but we need to hone in on it and make it unique again, because I think we're losing a bit of that.
Vacaville has a very nice park downtown. It also has a school right next to the park. And there's also a creek that runs by the park, which both adds and detracts from the downtown atmosphere. And if we could do something about the atmosphere around the creek, I think we'd all be better off.
Can you be more specific?
There are a lot of homeless people.
Okay. We won't be afraid of using that word tonight, because creek atmosphere is like, I got it.
Are you ready to take notes?
Terry?
Well, as a tavern owner, in an old J.C. Penney store from 1930, had an opera house next door, and the town square across the street, and an old bridge. The uniqueness is still there. You know, we have a lot of it, we don't have very much vacancy downtown. We have 2 spaces that I know of. I've seen things come and go over my 29 years of being in business. We've had garages, we've had Miller's Alphos, we had Hyde Meyer grocery or furniture store, which I bought a lot of furniture in. And so there is a lot, but there is, and the best thing is, we're all individuals. You know, I don't want to be told that I have to open at 6 and close at midnight, you know. I want to be free to run my business, and that's what's the best thing about downtown, is everybody can run their business as they want, and not have somebody telling them, I own property down here, I don't want someone to tell me what I have to put in my property. Every property owner has an opportunity to try to do what they want to rent it out. And the business people need to, if they want to build more, which we haven't even talked about, I know there's all about that. But on East Main, you know, there's opportunity there. But what we have, and I go to a lot of places, we get, you know, I'd like to see a few more cafes for breakfast, but we are unique.
Okay.
And the park is there, but it closes at 10. The town square is there, but you can't sit there after you have a glass of wine. You have to get out of there at 10. And what good is it there, you know? And you want to light it up, I don't know why we want to light it up, but you can't sit there at 10:30 at night when the weather's nice. So, I don't know, I can probably go on, but, you know.
I'm going to let you, but for another question that sort of addresses some of the things that you've said. One more, and we're going to go on to the next question. And
I'm both a business owner and a property owner, and I know that some people have issues with some of the businesses downtown, but if you are a property owner and your property sits and sits and sits and sits, you have to make a decision. You need to occupy that property. And retail is tough. There's just, it's tough. We try to put retail, we have a beauty shop, we have a wonderful tattoo parlor, we have a Pilates studio, we have real estate. And they all are thriving and they're wonderful tenants. We try to stick it out and put retail in there, and you just can't do it. A property owner cannot sit for years and years and years with vacancies. It doesn't work. So how do we mitigate that? I mean, I don't know. I'm happy with the businesses I have, but I realize I would like more retail down there too. However, the people that are in our building, they shop downtown, they walk around downtown, they eat. I see a lot of restaurant owners here, they eat downtown, they go, they buy their bicycles. So while I'm not producing retail businesses, I am providing a lot of people in the downtown.
great. Okay, we're going to go sort of to, this sort of leads into this question a little bit. So question 2 is, if you rule the world, what types of businesses would you like to see downtown?
Upscale restaurant.
Okay?
I agree with that, and I would like to see restaurants or cafes where in nice weather, we could sit outside.
Outdoor dining. Let me ask a quick question while I'm on this subject. Is outdoor dining allowed? Is there anything prohibiting sidewalk dining? I'll do an ordinance research later. What else?
Well, since we just passed over a couple of the ordinances on the planning commission, so I would like to see what's becoming really popular now are outdoor beer garden microbreweries. They seem to be hitting big and drawing lots of folks.
Good one. What else?
So I was thinking about, quaint, the word quaint, and I think that we have old school quaint and all the downtowns you showed us that were top 10 were new school quaint. They're modern businesses, they're farm-to-table restaurants, they're microbreweries, they're arts and crafts studios that actually are working, and I mean, I think that's the difference. That I love the quaintness of our downtown, but we need businesses that are new and modern and what are hip now, so we get young families down.
Okay. More hip. I got it. And I agree. What else?
So, I'll just talk loud.
No, we've got to hear you in the recording.
I really think we need some things like gelato shops and things where people can wander, get your gelato, walk to town square, wander in front of places. But I also think we need to kind of emphasize the niche market, the little shops that you're not going to find somewhere else, the little yarn shops, the little shoe repair, the things that people will come down for.
So a specialty retail that'll be more regional?
So that they can wander to other places before and after. So just things that make you want to do something and then go sit in town square and eat your gelato or wander by Pure Green and have your coffee or or whatever it is.
I have a friend that who's a downtown director, and she seeks out quilt shops. And not every downtown has a quilt shop. But she knows where all of those are because it's a specialty niche retail. What else? Give Phil Donahue here a hand. He's doing a really good job here.
Thanks, Bill. Anyway, I think that the DeVille Theater, which is now sitting vacant downtown, was a great hope of a lot of people that perhaps there would be entertainment, major entertainment brought to town. But at this point, the things that they're opening in places are things like movie grills and things that are, the family can come in and have something to eat, watch a movie, or there's some thing that could be done with that building that would continue to give it life and give our downtown life.
So being really creative with some of the vacant buildings that you have.
I'd love to see more artisan shops like wood carving and handmade items that are upper end. And I'd like to see things like Journey Coffee and Pete's Coffee downtown instead of out where they are.
Okay, so a chain like Journey or Pete's as an attraction. Okay.
Just I know some of you don't know me, my name is Wanda Cook, and I'm the director of the conservatory on the street. I bring 800 families to Vacaville every week. The same 800 families between Vallejo and Davis to Vacaville every week because their kids take lessons. And it's a great business opportunity. So I wonder what it is that keeps them from going downtown. What is it that we don't have? And when I think about some of these ideas of businesses in the other downtowns that we all know and love, I think we need to think about whether or not we're a downtown that's important because our local population goes to downtown, or that we are a visiting downtown. I love artisan shops, but the local 100 and some thousand people that live in Vacaville aren't going to keep that wood carving shop alive. It's going to come from the outside. So I know we have Visit Vacaville. How are they involved in what kind of businesses and what kind of development is happening for that population to come in?
That's a really good point. So are you local or visitor serving? What do these 800 families do? You know, that might be a really good idea for the DVBID to maybe get a survey out, because that would be interesting. I know in my experience we've gotten, we have in downtown Davis we had karate studios or dance studios, and it was always trying to capture those parents. You've got an hour, 15 minutes. Why are you sitting in your car? Go out and explore. And sometimes it's a little bit hard. Maybe every day they don't do it, but maybe some days they do. Anything else that you can add? DJ has the mic. Go for it.
Well, Main Street really isn't very long for both the buildings we have. And I've been in business for a long time, and before that I was downtown when it was ugly. And it has improved. But some of the things that you want, like restaurants, is very difficult to get through the city permits, and it's very expensive. And then you've got to upgrade. It's cheaper to rent your building out to an office than it is to a restaurant, because it's gonna be difficult to get in. So I don't know how you're gonna bring them down unless you build new buildings. And then this town is the strangest town that I've ever lived in, and I've been all over the world. And I spend a lot of time in Gratiot. They have a neat little town. They have a Main and Middle, where we have Main and Merchant. And they have a lot of little shops, they have a couple of wine tasting. They have Ashley's and an old building there. There's 2 or 3 stories. But they don't have to do the building required. They don't upgrade their buildings like we have to, for some odd.
You want to know something else interesting about Grass Valley? I just did some demographic work on them the other day. Their median income is low. It's very low. I mean, my guess is, and I don't have the figures in front of me, nor yours, but I'm going to guess their median income is maybe 60% of yours. So they have a lot of visitors, and they're one of our downtown, they have a ton of visitors. Yes, they do. And I have friends that own those shops, yeah.
Close up and open, and they close up, so it's a unique difference. But this Vacaville is strange. You can't get people that live in Vacaville to come downtown. They should be for.
I'm just going to ask you a real quick question. Answer me in maybe 30 seconds. Why do you think that is? Why do you think locals don't come down?
Well, because they come from other areas of the Bay Area or surrounding area, they buy a house, they still work where they are, where they were, and on their way home, they shop where they always shop. And like they entertain, they do their same entertainment they always did. Here they come for the house. And those that have children don't come downtown because they come home from work after 2 hours of driving, then they go do the Little League with the kids, then they're tired, then they get up. So it's a different environment.
Next one, 2 more, and then we're going to go on to the next question.
So I think that's about 3 more.
3 more.
3 more. But I'm going to play like Sergeant Knox here and remind everyone that the purpose for doing this is to provide Laura and our committee with feedback so we can develop a good plan. So it's important that we all stay focused and actually answer the questions. They'll ask you responses, I just do responses, but it's not doing this the way we need to.
I did ask him that, though.
Oh, well, I just wanted to reinforce the notion of the bill. I know that's rather specific in its nature. And I don't know at what time is the best time to see the next step for the bill. But I'm pretty fond of the Varsity Theater downtown in Vegas. And it's really conducive to foot traffic thing.
Yes.
To evening entertainment venue. And perhaps bring people from outside of Vacaville, which is important to the downtown.
Great. And I know we don't have a lot of time. I could tell you stories on the whole thing about the Varsity because I was there during that whole period of time. It's an interesting story.
Since part of this is strategic planning, one of the things, the question here of how do you get people to come downtown?
Right.
And our theory, which is not our theory, we get it from marketing, is that, for example, let's take a housewife. If they go somewhere, they want to make under marketing 3 stops. It's the bank, the cleaners, and the market, or it's the blah, 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 blah. So we know that if we want them to visit us, it's important that there are other options on Merchant Street for them to fulfill what it is. They don't want to just come down and park and drive to our shop. They want to. So we have a relationship with the other salons who they come down before they're going to have their appointment, or they come over after their appointment, or they've gone to get shoes at Fleet Feet and they come over to ours after they go to Fleet Feet. So it's really important strategically to work with your other local businesses where you can marry or marry interest and
called clustering. It's called competitive clustering, where, you know, if you had a bridal store, and there's a tuck store, and a jewelry store, and the florist, and that becomes a cluster. Another type of cluster, for example, is restaurants. If you have 70 restaurants like I did in downtown Davis, how do you do that? You say, hey, we've got the most restaurants anywhere. Look at this wide variety of things that we have. Next. What would attract you, this is sort of along this line, to spend more time in downtown?
I think downtown Vacaville is kind of small. If it were bigger, it would offer more options, and I might just come down for one restaurant. If there were other things to do here, I would spend more time here. I'm just wondering what they're doing with these vacant lots and vacant blocks, and if there are plans for that.
Yes.
I'd like to know what those are.
That's a whole nother meeting, but I'd definitely be happy to talk to you after the meeting.
Sure. I'm happy to fill that one just
You wanna-
quickly.
good.
So that area is our East Main District project area. There are 3 development sites there that we're going to be developing here very shortly that just to keep us focused. You can go to our City of Vacaville website, and if you click on the department tab, go to economic development, and it will be a tab that says East Main District. And you can see everything from the creation of the master plan to where we are today, which is we are actually in negotiations with a developer that we selected about 2 weeks ago to develop those 3 sites. So there's some activity.
Thank you, John.
What would attract us to spend more time? I say specialty shops, ice cream, wine bars, beer brew pubs, just people where people can stroll and stay downtown.
I actually live across town, and I did for the last 10, maybe, I've only been on this side of town about 3 years, and I lived over, and I didn't know anything about downtown. I worked for a bank there that had a branch here downtown, but they never invited us to stuff, so until I started working down here, like the other side of town, I don't think really knows about here. Like, from that tree, along that tree, I lived over by Elmira and, Leisure Town, stuff like that. I feel like you don't really know what's going on downtown, but you know there.
Okay. And that's not the first time I've heard that in where I've worked. Oh, there's a downtown, I've heard. And somebody sitting next to me in an airplane go, I've never been down there. How long have you lived in Davis? 15 years. So that's not an uncommon, I've heard that answer before. Next.
Along with your specialty shops, I think that children's shops like dancing wear, special shoe wear, something that will attract the family to come down, and then they go and have an ice cream or gelato or whatever. But it's something that would make you come down, and your children always do. Either baseball bat and a mitt, or we used to have a sports store down,
Yeah.
and it was wonderful. Someone that does the t-shirts, but,
So I want to piggyback on that just because I have a specialty store, and I think that you hit the nail on the head. It has to be experienced though, because Vacaville is very special. We have all those outlets across the freeway. We now have, that tree over there, and if you don't get the right specialty in, that's going to create experience, and if we don't have the right energy in downtown that's an experience, then people are going to go where it's easier to park, where it's cheaper. So I think that that's really important to look at.
So would you add customer service to that as well?
Oh, that's our number one.
Hi. I probably should have suggested this on the last question,
I
Okay.
just had a thought. I'm in downtown every day because I own a business downtown.
Okay.
But before I owned the business, the thing that brought me specifically to downtown were two things. The farmer's market and Pure Grain Bakery, and I would go get my bicycle and I'd ride my little dog around town and I'd have coffee and I'd get flowers and my fresh fruit and I loved it. And one thing, from personal experience, downtown, it's expensive. Rent is expensive because of where it is. Like my spot is just because it's right across from Town Square. One thing that I think that we could do to give that feel, that small town feel on a regular basis that would cost less money, and I heard it brought up before about the new district that we're talking about putting in was kiosks. If there was a small flower park, a little farmer's cart that would be there daily with fresh fruit, and maybe something else with something for kids, you know, have a few things in that central area that would bring the families and would bring people that want that small town experience. It would be less expensive and it would be a good way to introduce us into or kind of span it out what we're building down the road. So.
That's a really good point. I had experience with kiosks in downtown Davis, and it's hotter than blazes as it is here, but it does add some ambiance, and it does work in other places. Kathleen?
So one of the things I've always wanted for our downtown is a year-round covered farmer's market. And we have to make the space for it. I think it'd probably be down towards the end of East Main Street, but I think it's really important that we start looking in that direction of doing something like that. And the other thing is starting to work with our city to allow some pop-ups. If you're not familiar with pop-ups, that's what Backdoor Bistro was when they first started. They used another space a couple nights a week. We need to start considering the options of having people allowed to do some pop-ups.
Great. Back there?
Hi, I don't know if I can exactly explain what I'm envisioning, but we live, so I grew up here in Vacaville on the north side of town, so shopping downtown was always something that we did. And now we live on the kind of outskirts, we live over off of Fruitvale, but we still come downtown, we walk and ride bikes and come downtown quite a bit. And I envision something that like kind of, as you're coming into downtown, it's easy to walk in or ride your bike in, and it really isn't like that right now. When you get right into Main Street, you know, the sidewalks are a little bit wider, and it's pretty easy to get in and out and walk around. But to me, downtown is a bigger space. I mean, it starts on Monte Vista, and it goes over to Dobbins and Parker, and it's a bigger area. But those spaces have smaller sidewalks and no easy place to ride your bike or park a bike or something where it's like if you're coming in from the outskirts, even if you park over on Monte Vista and Dobbins and you walk in, you know you're coming into downtown. You've got bigger sidewalks, and it's kind of a sense of place as you're coming in. And I don't see that right now. I think it would be more attractive that way.
Great, thank you. Do you find a lot of bike racks, just as a follow-up question?
No.
Okay.
There's bike racks are great.
Well, of course there is.
So should we summarize and say that you're looking for more pedestrian plazas, or looking more for it to be bike-friendly?
Bike friendly, yeah.
What's going to attract you to see more time?
Right, bike-friendly is what.
Bike-friendly, that's you just, as you're coming into downtown, you don't have to park right on Main Street. You park a little further out and walk in, but you know you're in downtown. It's easy to get in and out. You don't have tiny little sidewalks that are all, pushed up from the tree roots and,
Okay, a couple more. Terry?
Well, the specialty shops are pretty good, but they're
everybody remembers In Motion on Main Street.
I do.
I owned that. And I had all the ballet and all the dance supplies, and a lot of my customers were from Napa and Davis. The town didn't really support it. So it's difficult to have a business like that. Oh, meaning restaurants. But it's difficult to open a restaurant in this town. Downtown, that is. They're too small, and the old buildings to upgrade them with the new codes is very difficult. I had a customer, or a person wanted to rent my building, put a Greek restaurant. I sent him downtown, and he came back, he says, "You're downtown, it's not easy to work with. The business, the city hall." And he went to Sassoon.
And he's left. Just telling you.
I'm not a Vacaville resident, I'm a business owner, so I know the people that try to attract and come downtown. And I've been downtown a lot, and it's usually for specific reasons. It's usually places to meet people, so I spend a lot of time curating, the library, restaurants are always like that. I think, the specialty shops would be a great attraction, but all the challenges that people talk about as far as just keeping it in business is a problem. And I think on the weekends, right now downtown, the main reason, I guess, to come downtown is if you're looking to buy a house or you want some good Mexican food. And other than that, on the weekends, downtown is closed.
Are you talking about Saturday and Sunday, or?
Saturday and Sunday, you come downtown, there's a lot of these Monday to Friday businesses in downtown, there's a lot of closed shops. So these families that work out of town during the week, like Terry said, and want to bring their family, take their family out on the weekend to do something, downtown just isn't on the radar right now.
Okay. Couple more. I've got two up front, and then we'll move to the next question, which may take a little bit longer. Excuse me.
I go downtown to have lunch, put in another plug for China House, since that's where we generally like to go. I guess we have taste with them here, but we also, being very old, have lived through a couple energy shocks, at least I have. And we tried a truck link, which I think is a concept most people are very familiar with. I cannot buy computer ink downtown, paper, technology. So I don't need more restaurants downtown. I like some real businesses downtown.
The downtown for me needs to be fun, inviting, and the aesthetics needs to be something that is welcoming, not only to the residents, but also to those who are making their way through our wonderful city.
When I think of downtown, honestly, and he said just the Mexican restaurant, when I think of downtown, I think of lots of restaurants. When I go to eat in Vacaville, I actually come downtown. I mean, whether it be, Puzo's, Pietro's, Mexican, we have every type of restaurant. I don't really go out to the factory stores. However, when I shop, I actually go to the factory stores. I have not been to the mall, which is old school, in years. I shop, so did we compete against ourselves, putting in the factory stores and the Nut Tree, because of all of those, we have so many shops to go to, and that's where I go. When I think of downtown, and I am a real estate broker, every house, every person I sell a house to, I never refer them to a restaurant anywhere except for in local downtown Vacaville, and they absolutely love it. So, I'm trying to do my due diligence and we have good restaurants. So I don't think having more restaurants is bad. I think unique restaurants, I absolutely, at one point we had the signs, Bob, that never, you know, that you have.
The
We
blade
tried
signs.
to create a look, it never took off. That would be great, you know, the overhead signs. I think hanging planters, if you've ever been to Corvallis, Oregon, they have hanging planters every 5 feet, and it's so inviting. Doing that. Oh, yeah, well, I did, I said, I like having more restaurants downtown. I think of downtown as food, and I don't think that will hurt us to have more restaurants downtown.
We've got one more, and then we need to go to the next question, which is probably going to be the question that is going to take the longest.
Wanted to just add something to two prior comments, which were on parking and walking. After the parking study, I personally reviewed all the parking areas downtown. We have parking areas, but there are not well-lit, convenient, properly paved walkways to get from those parking areas. For example, I'm serving behind on Kendall Street, but there is no convenient way for the public to get from those areas to ours. The second area I think I mentioned is our economic development officer to help local merchants make the transition to offer the unique things that are needed. So you take we talked about the street market. Well, that's a product of the Downtown Blackville Business Improvement District that brings that to us. They have 2 slots that downtown businesses can use to advertise their wares, and we have used that opportunity many times. And the number of customers that has brought us that didn't know we had coins, didn't know we did these other products. So we need, one of the things, hopefully, our economic development officer can do to help transition small business owners to the unique things they should be carrying. For example, I'm a man, somebody brought up a man shop. I don't want to drive to Macy's just to find a wallet, but you tell me where else in this town I can go get a wallet. I mean, you really, as a guy, I can't do it. But if we had a place downtown that was carrying, doesn't have to be just a men's shop, but it could carry specialty items for both men and women and others that we could.
Okay. All right, this is going to be the controversial question, because everybody in any town that I've ever been in likes to talk about what the problems are. So our first 3 questions were really about what you'd like to see, what you'd like to do, what makes you unique. Now we're going to get into this one. So what issues or problems need to be addressed downtown? And before we start, you know, you can explain some of the problems, but the more feedback we get. So if you can keep it short, great. If you can't, that's fine too.
So you want to use still this comment, the pre-bought parking?
I already did. Parking and lighting.
Parking.
There you go.
All right, since I'm here, I'm going to go with TV.
Tagging, which if you don't know, that's graffiti. Homeless, hanging out, stabbing people, and derelict buildings that need to be repaired. Perhaps the building owner doesn't have the funding to fix it. Maybe there's something that can be done to assist them.
Great answers. And thank you for making them really succinct. That was good. Yes?
I also think vacant lots.
Okay.
There needs to be infill. Those things, you know, on Parker Street and over on Cernan, some things that need to be just, buildings need to be put there. And there needs to be an emphasis on, as we say, someone else was commenting that the downtown is really a very small place. If we were to infill in some of those other places on those side streets, there would be a better feeling than a larger area down there.
And if they can't be infilled for some reason, they're in litigation or whatever, we need to know what those are, because I know when I was in Bob's office the other day, I went, why is that vacant? So, I mean, you know, at least I agree, infills are really a big deal, but if it can't be, if it's tied up, we need to know about it too. Yes, your turn.
Let me see if I can create this as an opportunity. We talked about the outlets and how and the underlying theme perhaps is that they pull away from downtown. But nobody's going to stumble upon Vacaville's downtown. And we have all of those people here from other places. If there were better way signage, people could go to the outlets and do their shopping, and then come downtown and walk around and have something to eat and just kind of enjoy a different atmosphere.
So wayfinding from outlets, and would you also include Nut Tree Plaza as well and that sort of thing? Okay.
Yeah, I work right across the street here, and my office used to be on that side of the building. Now I've just moved down, and so I view the park all day long. And just, I'm amazed at how many young men hanging on bicycles. I don't know if they're homeless or not, but just, they're up to no good. And I think it really is ensuring for families to enjoy the park, or even people in my office don't even want to go walk over there at lunchtime because they're afraid.
Would you call it loitering in the park, or?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I really like the suggestions everyone's come up with. These are all my top list. I think everything's
Great.
consistent, pretty appropriate. I'd love to have a Market Brewery downtown. I'd love to have some specialty restaurants. But I think it's infrastructure. I think the city needs to address, Market Breweries tend to pump a lot of water and things out. And I don't, I own the Triangle Building downtown. It's fully occupied with great tenants. But we have a water problem, a sewage problem. It's just a huge problem.
So I guess I feel compelled to address this now because I'm really trying to keep us focused on answering the questions to get the data we need to continue on with developing a strategic plan and not try to respond to every concern. But TJ also brought this up. We are aware of the infrastructure problem. We have a plan for the infrastructure problem. We have credits to use for new restaurants and establishments to come to downtown. So we have a plan. We're prepared. So rest assured, we will be able to get new restaurants and new businesses that need the heavy water usages right downtown.
Thanks, Don, for quickly addressing that.
TJ,
Keep going. These are all great.
Yeah, I've got a question about the bus services that we have in town. And I'm hoping that maybe we can revise and look at how we may be able to slow down some of the number of buses that come down Main Street and make a turn down to where the main station is, and maybe reroute them in different directions so that they aren't lined up right at the corner of Main Street where they come out of their bus terminal, and then try and maybe mitigate some of that.
That's at the corner of Main and where, sir?
I think it's certain.
Cernan, okay.
Well, as a problem, me as a businessman, I have no problems. My business is successful, I don't have no issues. But the complaints I hear about the homeless and the parking and a few other things, but I think we haven't addressed the people that run the businesses down here. You know, they're the ones that are here every day. They're the ones that see things that happen. And maybe we need to have more meetings of what you see and feel comfortable what you see to tell. Maybe that would happen in Orlando, we wouldn't have any issue. But downtown, the people that work here and own the businesses, a lot of the problems are created by them. They complain about parking because they want to park in front of their building. And then no customers. I see that all the business that park behind this building, 5 employees from one business, 5 from another, then the parking lot's almost full, and then they walk 2 blocks the other way, and then the businesses down here have no parking. But they have no parking up there either. So there is a parking problem and a people problem with the businesses that are here.
So would you also say parking management of how it's managed?
Well, I don't know how you're going to educate
Okay, education.
the businesses, because I know some of the ladies that work here, and if they have to walk to their car in the dark, they're concerned.
I understand.
I went to the garage and I told them, if they had an issue, call my bartender and we'll go out there when you walk. You know, we have that set up for them, and we can probably do it for other people. But it's the ladies, I understand their nerves when they walk to their car when it's dark. Today is different.
Okay. So that's parking, lighting, that comes back to lighting as well.
I think one of the big problems is the lack of marketing for downtown. Highway signs are great, but you've got to get what's interesting and unique about downtown out to the greater area. You can put specialty shops down here, but nobody knows about them. Come to historic Vacaville, come to what's unique about our city. And that, whether that's mass media, something like that.
Great. Unique answer.
One of the things I would like to see is that it's more walkable, and it's not necessarily a problem, but maybe an issue. So that if we had street closures, I know not everyone sees that the same, but I would like to see some of the streets closed at times for our events.
Okay.
I know street closures is always an issue for our downtown, but one of the things in our planning department that we try to provide as an example to everyone is if you've been in Southern California and Santa Monica, their downtown, the Bridge Promenade is completely an outdoor walking mall. And it's like 3 blocks were closed permanently, so it's not that uncommon to have that type of closure.
And I will add to that it works in some places, and in some places it doesn't work. Fulton Mall in Fresno for years and years had the enclosed mall, closed streets, they're ripping that up. Downtown Reading had that big dome over it for years. They finally took it down, and so it just depends. It might work in Santa Monica, it may not work in other places. So it's an interesting downtown debate. Anything else?
So if marketing is under this topic, the gentleman about marketing, as Mark may know, I was not in support of studying branding because I felt we should implement branding. But the report from branding had some interesting nuggets in it. And one of the questions was, where do you get your information on what to do and why? Well, number one, we could all guess that, friends and family. But I promise you, number 2 was Facebook. And in the top 10 came Twitter and came Instagram. And as much as I love the reporter and other journals, they were like out of top 5 anyway. So one of the things we need is to have technology, communication as part of our strategic plan for downtown. It has to be an organized, strategic, coordinated plan. The second element that came up I would like to comment on is security. Now, one of the things that have come up in every survey about parking is a lot of especially ladies who are working in salons late at night, and our police chief, as you may know, put out a memorandum asking for us to notify them about our surveillance systems.
Okay.
So one of the things we could do, again, is to coordinate. One good example is Fleet and Clifford Cargill has just coordinated and installed a combination of security over the entire back parking area and alleyway, which we have split 50-50, so that we have put in a new 10-full terabyte hard drive, infrared, so that they can see they're on the camera at night. Because we have a lot of ladies that work for us that are going to leave when winter comes, it's darker. And so there are things we can do together if we're willing to communicate with our brother and sister businesses.
Thank you.
That kind of leads into my, is the alleys. Is there a way to clean up the alleys? I love your suggestion. I'm going to go over and see what they did, because we also have a beauty shop, and we are so concerned. The alleys are, the roads are a mess. There's nothing back there, but the parking lot is back behind the alley. So to get to your business, you have to go through an alley. Or people walking around at night, they might stroll down the alley, and quite frankly, there's a lot of homeless down there. So cleaning up the alleys and making it more stroll friendly might help, help the downtown.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of alleys.
So a lot of people have mentioned safety issues, the homeless, and there's this new unit in the police department that's handling those issues specifically in downtown.
Correct.
But at the last DVID meeting, we were told that they're doing it during daytime hours, and they're very effective. We had someone trying to steal a bicycle behind my business at 12 noon, and they were there, they caught the guy in 5 minutes easily after I called, which was really, I knew they would. But my question is, why do we have a special unit to control those issues, like the tagging and all that kind of stuff, during the daytime when the vast majority of those crimes are probably going on in the darkness? And lighting, yes, will assist with that, but I think that we need to encourage the police department to have officers assigned to that unit to work in the evening hours as well, especially on days when there's more people downtown, I just think that maybe people would feel safer walking in their cars if they knew that there was a unit that was going to be actively, moving them on, keep going. You don't need to sleep here, whatever.
It's a good suggestion.
So,
What I really like is nobody's gotten angry. That's wonderful.
Well, he's a big guy.
Phil is big.
So one of the things that I think we have a huge problem with is actually perception of the downtown. I'm hearing a perception that it's not safe. And the truth is that if you had John Carney here, our chief of police, he would talk to you about our safety record downtown, and you'd probably be surprised. I think we have pockets in the areas where we need a lot of help. But I would also say, I just think the perception of the downtown from daytime to evening to late night is very different, and the perception may not always be correct. So we need to work a great deal on helping to teach people that we really do have a different reality than perhaps some of the perception.
That's one of my points already in the strategic plan, is addressing negativity. It just takes one, it may not be right. And sometimes it just takes one incident that everybody remembers. Downtown Fairfield, for an example, had a murder in front of Wells Fargo about 12 years ago. People still talk about that it's not safe. So what you need to do is look at those things that are safe, look at statistics. Next.
Okay, I mean, in downtown here for 30 years, I seen a lot change. But right now, we are talking about the safety, all that stuff. And I think the civilian camera is really help. In the city, they can put more civilian camera, and even in the corner. When you put that on a dress, show people, we have civilian camera around here. People, they won't go there. I see the big difference when the KQIC were there. In front of that area, have a lot of kids, they put around, they standing there. So when they put a civilian camera there, they address it. We have civilian camera here. So the time from that point on, we don't see the kid.
Surveillance, security camera.
Security, yes. So that way, and the kids, they're not there fool around. So policemen come out is more expensive. If the civilian camera come on, then they see something going on. In the city, they can get report. If they catch on, they report. The people say, well, don't go there fool around. That place, if you go fool around, you get caught right away. So that would be even cheaper way to have the policemen come on. Right?
Security cameras.
Yes.
Has something to do with surveillance, security, okay.
This is an issue also about, we are unique in the fact that the owners of the businesses and people that own property down there are very proud of the area. And like he was saying about getting the cameras out and having lighting, I think some of it is our responsibility. And I think that working together with the city would be a help. I also think sorry, John, but I also think seeing more of our city and county people downtown, having a cup of coffee when John comes down, and it just brings everybody else. So just say, oh, look, I see the mayor, or I see our city council, and it doesn't mean they have to come all at one time, but that just brings more unity, and I think that helps.
So more interaction, public type meetings with coffee with the chief or the mayor, okay. And this county supervisor.
So we're just around the time at 7:55.
Let's move on this was really a good question. Let's move on to the next one. And I'll tell you what the next one is so we can shorten this up. What would you suggest could be done to help ensure the success of downtown businesses?
So I think we're moving towards e-commerce, with the invention of this thing called Amazon and everything else. When we go towards that, retail business is going to be affected, and we're seeing that today. I think when we're looking for, as a strategic plan, we need a plan for 2020, 2025 to create this plan. Because what is happening today or what is relevant today is not necessarily what's going to be relevant in the next 5 to 10 years.
Okay.
This is kind of in general, but a lot of people, when they start a business, they really don't know everything about putting it together, what it takes, what's involved. The chamber, I was on a committee at one point, and the chamber has something, they partner with the city where it's a business plan, how to survive, what to do. I think that needs to get out more to new businesses to start out to see there is a plan in place, and everybody has an idea about a business, but they truly, a good majority of the reason they go down is because they just don't put the effort in, and they don't know what the next step is or what's going to happen.
So really getting out the information on what's available, whether it's through SBDC or the chamber or other. Didn't mean to paraphrase you, but I knew where you were going with this. So would other things be helpful, just to sort of piggyback on this? business plan is a big deal. I've worked in several cities recently where that was sort of like the number one thing. We want to start a business, we don't know how, what's available. But also, as business owners, are there certain things that you would like to see that perhaps was a refresher course? And I can throw out some, insurance. Do you have adequate insurance? A series of seminars, a series of webinars. Would that be helpful to you? Yes, no? Marketing.
I really believe that, education is really important because of the changing environment, the changing laws. I mean, I went to a sales tax seminar last month. I got 3 or 4 nights out of it that I didn't even know I was responsible for or not responsible for. I think workers' comp, all those issues are evolving constantly.
ADA?
Exactly.
I know that's a bad word around here, but it's happening everywhere.
But the biggest problem for small businesses is they're small. I mean, if the owner is sick or disabled, they just disappear. I mean, Gilda Iris was a wonderful little gift shop in town. It was run great. She did a great promotion. She had a great product, but she got sick. And, it just ended. So there's a lot of things that affect small businesses. And the biggest thing I suggest is we get nice businesses downtown. When we get nice businesses, is that we support them.
Okay. What about succession planning? How do you give your business to your kids or the next generation when they don't want it? That sort of thing. How do you wind up?
I think what I'm hearing is a lot of understanding among the business industry that you need to understand your environment and where we're going in the future. What is the future? And a whole for my business, for my community. And I think it's important to have, to what you said, that a lot of people will start a business and not understand everything and see them fail. And then what is perceived is the downtown's failing and not thriving. And we don't want that to be what is really experienced. And so I think, to answer the question, what would I suggest to be done in order to achieve success in downtown businesses, or the downtowns, and the businesses succeed, the downtown succeeds, is that there's really strong strategic leadership that agrees on a specific goal. What is the vision today? Where are we today, and where do we need to be? And then the leaders affect that goal. And I just, it's in like what you said, we need to support each other's businesses, and we need to be there for each other because we're in this community. But I guess what I'm trying to say is organizing strategic leadership that we all can trust and can be a part of. I asked a question, I hear that there's a percent, are we building businesses here so that our residents can come down and hang out? Or are we a destination place where we want to invite people to come in? I'll tell you, when I have friends and family coming from out of town, I don't take them to the outlets, and I don't take them to the nursery, because they've got all that where they come from. I take them down here. Maybe that is a vision. Where are our residents bringing their visitors? And are they proud to do that?
I was also going to say that as the child of a family that owned a lot of property down here at one point in time, there really wasn't anything for a long, long time that guided property owners, and I think about you, Linda, in terms of, is there, I don't know, maybe to Bob, is a good question too. For example, if somebody's a property owner and they want to rent out their property, and is there a way to go to somebody and say, what do we need in the downtown? It just seemed like they were all alone, and there wasn't any guidance, and of course they needed rent. So usually it got rented regardless almost of what it was, unless it was just illegal or something, So I guess the question is what kind of overarching strategy or plan is there to assist we all feel we're going in the right direction, so that if somebody says, hey, we have too many of these and we don't have enough of these, and, so that, not that you're putting pressure on, but that you're just giving them guidance so that they can try, or maybe even somebody else knows of a business that wants to go in downtown, but that connection isn't being made between the property owner and the person wanting to start the business. There just doesn't seem to be any connection there. Maybe there is some.
So they need to know what is needed downtown uses, and on the other hand, the organization could look for those type of businesses as well and get them together.
Yeah, so everybody's working for that same goal.
Mrs. Adelu, is it okay if I share with everyone our coffee meeting last week? Is it okay? Okay, so Mrs. Fox, to answer your question, Yolanda has graciously agreed to work with myself and our Assistant City Manager, Jerry Craig, to pull together the downtown property owners to address just that issue. Jerry and I are working very hard to attract businesses into our downtown, but we need to have a relationship with the property owners so that they know there are good quality businesses that they can actually rent the properties to. So you might all expect all the property owners in the room probably going to give a call or email from Yolanda pretty soon to pull together a quick meeting.
Thank you, Yolanda.
So I have two suggestions.
And then we're going to move on to question 6. Okay.
The first, which came out of an experience that I and 4 other restaurant owners in Vacaville had recently, was to have, at the point where you're getting your business license or you're renewing your business license, have information maybe on the city website or a handout or something like that at the office that would have resources for different agencies that are going to be scrutinizing your business, so you don't get in trouble. A lot of you business owners don't know what to even look for, and then problems happen. The other thing that I wanted to suggest, and I thought a lot about it, I had a meeting where I had invited a lot of non-franchise restaurant owners to come, and I educated them so that they wouldn't have problems. And the response that I got was really good, that they felt like we all felt like we had new friends, like we were in this together. And what I suggested then, and I'm suggesting now, is that we encourage, I know the Chamber of Commerce is a great organization, but I think that we could have small organizations for like restaurant owners in downtown.
So subgroups that would meet.
Where you
Okay.
can assist one another through the hard times, give each other advice. There's people that have owned restaurants for 40 years that could have a wealth of knowledge to help someone that's trying to start up. And it is not just a restaurant, but any type of retail establishment. I think that if we have that kind of community, I think that would actually attract people if they knew that that was a resource for them, that we're welcoming them in, kind of like Judy and I had talked about a welcome wagon for other businesses to say, we want you here.
Okay, we're going to go to the last question, also because we're running late and my pen is running out. And this is an easy one that's supposed to just end on a really good note. So what are your favorite things about downtown Vacaville? Shout them out.
My daughter got married downtown a couple years ago, and we were able to do everything that we could possibly want in downtown. We had a caterer downtown, we opened this fine room here, and we rented a B&B up on the hill that overlooked downtown. I took pictures in the park. I love Merriman on Main. I love the Festival of Trees. I love the farmers market. I love the Great Bike Shop.
Just our events, Town Square events, Creek Walk,
It attracts a lot of people, and it's just, it's nice to see the community come out.
Good. Clean streets.
One of the things I thought was interesting is when they had Food Truck Mania. And there were a lot of people, I think, that were a little worried about that, what it would do to the restaurant business, the rest of the town. And it actually, the whole downtown prospered because there were too many people at the park. So they all ended up in all these restaurants, and I thought it was a great sort of unintended consequence. So you have to kind of think about but I love that they tried something new and it taught the people in town something.
Jeannie used the word experience. We have some incredible that they did some of them, at the Halloween stories, et cetera. But one of the things, Jeannie used the word experience. And if you look at all of the polling of marketing, major marketing firms, while there is e-commerce, that's not where the younger generation is going. The key word with them is the word experience. If they come into your establishment, I'm going to overlap it real quick. If you come in, they want to have an experience. Now, we have signs all over the freeway that say historic downtown Barkerville. There's only two places I know that are historic downtown Barkerville. One is Jean's place, if you want to see what the history of Barkerville is. And the other is our historical society, which I think needs to be integrated into the life of downtown. It is not integrated in. And some of that money that should be sloshing around ought to be done to help revitalize that facility. So I'm just saying that that is an experience. We need to be experienced, and we are. I mean, some of the events that Bob has organized. If you're ever down, you probably never, I don't know if you've ever been down to Halloween Stroll?
No, I was running my own in
You're going to
Davis.
see about 3,000 kids and parents here.
Yeah.
You can't even get down in the streets, one right after the other.
Anything else positive? We like positive.
Just to piggyback on what this gentleman just said, what I was going to say, one of the things that I love about historic downtown Vacaville is the rich history of downtown Vacaville. And I had a book that was given to me shortly after I started working for the city. It's a pictorial history of Vacaville. And I looked at that book often, and I looked at the way the buildings were, and I think this gentleman's onto something here with incorporating the history with working with the historical group to have that stuff down here. I think the farmers market ties into that with our history with agriculture and orchards and things of that nature. And that's the stuff that makes us unique down here. And that's what people need to see in the surrounding area. That's what I was referring to in the marketing now. Really heavily market that historic downtown Vacaville that makes this area unique.
Okay.
We have a lot of weddings here, obviously. Thank you for bringing that up. But one of the things I like is that I'm dealing with a lot of mid-20s to 40-year-olds, and one of the part of the couple has some kind of tie to Vacaville. Sometimes they live there, sometimes they don't. Recently met with a bride that is from New York City, and her fiance is from the East Coast, and she was so excited to come back to Vacaville to have her wedding. And to me, that shows hope that the young people that have gone away, gone to college, and started a career somewhere else want to bring, their wedding down here. And so to me, I think that's a favorite thing of mine, that we just have hope. We have a future. We have other people who have moved out and they want to come back. So, I mean, it's important to enhance that.
That's a great story. Really like that.
One of my favorite things is kind of funny, but if I'm down there late at night and close up, is I drive home on Lincoln Highway, buy a race cycle, and I see a neon light on the window with a bicycle in it. I give the neon sign. But it's so cool.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that the History Center has that is
A lot of people don't know about it.
incredible information.
Yeah, I've always been entranced with downtown Vacville, but one of the things that I know that the Vacville Museum does is that they have a walking tour of the homes that are down, and it ends just short of downtown Vacville, because there are no homes in downtown. So maybe if there was some kind of thing that would allow people to say, oh, this was the Opera Hall, and, and this used to be used for this, and the Walker Opera House, and someone could actually walk through Vacaville and see that.
And they don't have to go in. I did a book like that for Sassoon. It was supposed to be 40 properties. It ended up being 80. But there's other ways to do it as well. You can do podcasts on it. I did one in Davis that actually, you downloaded it and you could walk around and it was a podcast. It was pretty cheap to do. I think that's going to conclude everything. If you haven't already, those green sheets, that's a supplemental questionnaire. If you want me to call you and talk further about anything, I'd be glad to. I really enjoyed my time. You've been a really good group, and your input has been really valuable. Thank you again, and look forward to finish my work with the DVBID and have our strategic plan done. And you can always contact Kathleen